Advancements in the medical field are giving nurses faster, more effective results than ever before. They should expect the same from their education, too. Capella University's game-changing FlexPath format allows you to set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move faster through your program. So the faster you move, the more money you save. When you're ready, we'll be here. Visit capella.edu for a trial course at no cost to you. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
Hi everybody, this is the Cricket Badger podcast.
Each badger marks the track with its own scent.
His black legs are short but very powerful for digging. The name badger probably comes from the French word bêcher, meaning digger.
Hello everybody, welcome along to another edition of the Cricket Badger podcast. I'm James, taking you through this one, and pleasure to have a very good guest on this edition of the podcast. It's Tymal Mills, and Tymal, I've seen you on my TV screen over the last few days as well. You've started doing your commentary stints too, and obviously still bowling fast for Sussex in the T20 Blast. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Been on both sides of the camera, but definitely prefer being out on the field. It's nice to be back playing again for Sussex. Really enjoying playing in the Blast. So yeah, I had quite a long time off, but nice to be back playing again.
I was going to ask you about that with the lockdown, and I mean there was plenty of times at the start of the summer where I thought we wouldn't see a ball bowled this year with lockdowns and COVID-19. With a very small window for you now with the T20 Blast, you must have been concerned you might not get on the park at all.
Yeah, it was touch and go. It was maybe a little bit less so for me and the Blast. I think if there was going to be any cricket played, the Blast was going to be the cricket. It was kind of the 4-day lads that were sweating a bit that competition would also get postponed for the whole year. So obviously I had a longer break. I got back from Pakistan in mid-March, and then I returned back to training end of July. So it was quite a long break. But yeah, it's been nice to just be back playing again now, and grateful to be playing.
I'm going to take you through the Cricket Badger podcast 20 questions today, Tymal, and we'll start off with question number 1, which is pretty much always the place we start. If not a cricketer, where would life have taken you? What would you be doing now?
Well, we kind of touched on it. Obviously, I've done quite a lot of media work alongside my cricket. I studied sports journalism at university straight out of school, so it was always an interest. Then obviously my cricket kind of took off and kind of ran with that. But then since I became kind of a T20 player, obviously that freed up a lot of time. I've got a lot of spare time that obviously lads that are playing all forms don't have. So I kind of pursued kind of a few leads and a few contacts in the media, and I've been really lucky to form some good relationships at Sky and BBC. Yeah, I'd probably, it's hard to say for definite, but I'd imagine I'd kind of have gone down that path. And
is that something you see yourself doing post-cricket?
I think so. I keep getting asked back, so I must be doing okay. But I think so. I've got another business interest. I've got a cricket site called Pace Journal, which I've recently come on board with. So we interview fast bowlers, and we just launched a batting channel as well. So I'm trying to kind of keep a few irons and a few fires. And obviously I'm only 28, so hopefully I've got a few more years left playing in.
Well, you're a man for me to stay in touch with then, because I'm always looking for work. So when your business gets massive, you can employ me and give me some dollar.
Exactly.
I saw I just watched a little bit of a video of you on YouTube, and you said on that you didn't really have anything to do with cricket when you were growing up, and it wasn't until probably the age of 14 that you realised you could bowl quite quickly and unleash a few ferocious deliveries and take a few wickets. Was that how it went?
Yeah, I didn't grow up in a cricket family. I didn't grow up in a cricket kind of town or anything. Where I grew up at a small town in Suffolk. My school didn't play cricket. I went to just the local state school, and it's where I grew up. It's mainly just the private schools that played cricket. So cricket wasn't kind of immediately available to me. I played every other sport: football, basketball, rugby, athletics. And then when I was 14, my mate was playing he played for a club team, just a little midweek league team for a side called Tuddenham, and they were short one night. They needed an extra player. My mate asked if I could go and help out, and I did. And I turned my arm over, realised that I could do it quite quickly. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just enjoyed it. And then I kind of just played socially with those guys for the rest of that summer. Then went on to some just playing Sunday league cricket for the same side, and then from there kind of moved to a more established club, Mildenhall, where I played started to play my adult cricket, then kind of onto Suffolk age groups, and then got pushed on to Essex from there. So it was quite a quick rise, kind of looking back on it.
The next question is, who has been the biggest influence on your cricket career? Obviously, it came a bit later than maybe some of the answers we've had on the podcast before, but was there somebody that saw you and thought, there's a professional cricketer in that lad?
Yeah, so I said my influences, as you said, didn't come until I was older. Maybe I didn't have an influence, obviously, growing up. So John Childs, he was the academy coach at Essex that kind of scouted me and gave me an academy contract. So he was my first proper cricket coach as such. So I owe a lot to him. And then once I turned professional on the staff at Essex, Chris Silverwood, obviously now the England head coach, he was the bowling coach at Essex. So Booms was my first bowling coach that I worked with, obviously exclusively and day in, day out. So I owe a lot to him and to Kevin Shine, who for a long time was the England kind of lead fast bowling coach. Obviously, I kind of got accelerated through the England pathways when I was 19, 20, and I was 21, and I did a lot of work with them. So yeah, if I had to say, kind of John Childs was my first coach really of any description, and then Silvers and Kevin Shine for the work that the initial kind of bowling work that they did with me.
Your pathway through, you played for England under 19s, you got onto the England performance programme. England are always crying out for a fast bowler, aren't they? Somebody, it's sexy, isn't it, to bowl at 90 plus miles an hour and to scare batsmen and to win matches. So they obviously saw that in you. That was an advantage for you, I guess, to be bowling fast and left arm as well. It kind of gives you a little bit of a distinction from some of the other guys too.
Oh yeah, look, I'm not naive to the fact that I pretty much got as far as playing England under 19s, playing England Lions and earning a professional contract with Essex purely because I could bowl left arm 90 in and around 90 mile an hour. The rest of my cricket wasn't up to the standard. I couldn't bat, I couldn't field, I wasn't really fit enough. But those attributes kind of got me that far. And then, but attributes only will get you so far. It then got to a stage where you're always going to plateau, no matter what sport, no matter what level. And I then had to raise everything else in my game up. Also, my bowling had to improve in terms of accuracy, fitness, as I said, batting, fielding. So yeah, I definitely got fast tracked through the system, which I'm grateful for. And then, as I say, I've had to, at various points in my career, upskill and take things to another level.
What's been the best moment in your cricket career? If I could take you back to 24 hours that you've experienced and you could relive it again, where would you take me?
Oh, tough. I've had an amazing career. I've obviously had a lot of ups and a lot of downs. Obviously,
the next question's about the downs.
Auction on TV. Yeah, so maybe watching that IPL auction on TV. I was out in Dubai playing in the PSL, and it was on TV. Woke up at, I don't know, it was on quite early, 7, 8 in the morning, and sat in my hotel room watching that. That was obviously a pretty special day in my life, one that I won't forget. So I'll probably say that, if I'm being honest. When
you saw you were snapped up and your bank account suddenly got a little bit bigger.
It does, but obviously the draft was in February and the IPL itself didn't start till April or whatever. So you don't get paid until you get out there and until you report. So it was it was a strange 2 months. But my phone certainly exploded, and then I was playing out. In my team was Luke Wright and Nathan McCullum. I went for breakfast with them that morning and they made me pay for breakfast, that was for sure.
Moonrise is a sports engagement website to allow sports fans to learn from the very best. Get a personal video message recorded for a fan's special occasion. Have a professional cricketer as your next coach by getting video feedback or having a 30-minute conversation with some of the world's best players. Players such as Jimmy Neesham, Colin Munro, Tammy Beaumont, Danny Wyatt, Monty Panesar. Visit moonrisesports.com or go to Moonrise Sports on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Moonrise Cricket, let's play.
Let's go back to the flip side of that. What's been your worst day in cricket, a day that you wouldn't want to relive? If you could write that day out of your career, which one would it be?
Again, I've had a lot of injuries and a lot of downs and a lot of tough times. All of the injuries I've had, they've not been fun times. But I'd say at the time, after I had a reoccurrence of my back injury, I had it first when I was playing for Essex, then I moved to Sussex, thought I'd kind of seen the back of it, and then it came around again, and had all the tests done again, scans, blah, 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 and then being 22, I think I was 22 years old, sat in the boardroom at Sussex with the chief exec, physio, head coach, doctors, all that, and kind of being told, kind of being given my options, and being told that retirement was one of those options. That was obviously a pretty dark day. It wasn't an option I was going to take because obviously the other option was to try and just play T20 cricket, so to try and reduce the amount of overs that I was bowling, so obviously stop playing 4-day cricket. But just to hear those words, and obviously from the club's point of view, they have to tell you to go away, think about it, and then come back. So I remember going back to my flat. I was living with my mate at the time who worked up in London. So obviously he didn't get back until kind of 6, 7 each evening. So just being sat in the flat, kind of all alone, thinking about, just been offered retirement at 22. That was obviously a pretty dark day for me, but luckily one that didn't bear fruit.
Your back injury, I've seen it referred to as a hereditary condition, a sort of spinal condition, isn't it? Is that something that's in your family? Is it? Is that that's how I take hereditary?
No, it was congenital apparently.
Right, okay.
Not hereditary. Again, it's a very long story, but for a period, it's quite. I forget where it is now. It's a few vertebrae worth of my spine in this. Basically, your spinal cord runs down through your spinal column, and for I don't know, maybe a couple of inches or an inch or so, there's a period where my spinal cord's compressed. There's not much kind of wiggle room in there, if you can imagine. Imagine if it's a string in a tube. For a little bit, the tube kind of tightens on the spinal cord. So the more I bowl, obviously a lot of movement in your spine, and it got to a stage where I bowl, and then eventually the spinal cord would get so agitated it would kind of short circuit, if that makes sense, and yeah. I'd get weak, I'd get like a shock, electric shock, kind of around my waist, in my legs, pins and needles, weakness in my legs. So obviously the kind of the 3 or 4 times it happened, it was pretty scary, and even now to this day, I haven't played a 4-day game for over 5 years now. I've still got numb patches on my right leg, which is residual from kind of those things happening. So it's still with me today, but luckily since I stopped playing 4-day cricket and focused just on T20s, I've not had a reoccurrence of that. So hopefully that'll continue.
You did a lot of work with the coaches as well to remodel your action, didn't you? I mean, the way I've taken it, rather than be a massive impact in terms of your action, you tried to kind of glide through a little bit more to lessen that impact and lessen the jarring on your back. Is that right?
So I didn't actually change my bowling action at all, but we changed. So again, I owe a lot to the ECB even after. So I had the injury at the start of the summer with Sussex playing a 4-day game, then kind of took a month or so out whilst we did all the tests and all that. And then I came back and I played the T20s for Sussex and had a good year, but picked up a load of niggles, wasn't in the best of shape. And then the ECB pretty much took me away for the whole winter on various different camps. I went to South Africa a couple of times, Dubai. Pretty much if there was I think like the England and 19s had a training camp in South Africa, so I just went along with that so I could go and train outside and obviously not just be stuck in an indoor facility in England. We just looked to change pretty much everything but my bowling action to reduce the strain on my back. So I know it sounds strange, but how you walk, how you run, because I'm quite hypermobile, there's a lot of movement going on. So a lot of stretching to kind of loosen up the hips, which then makes a little bit less stress on your lower back just when you're walking around. Obviously, I didn't know this, but the head S&C at the time, Pete Atkinson, he'd just be watching me walk around and stuff, and he'd see all this excess movement going on in your hips and your lower back and things. So a lot of work, a lot of core work and things just to try and reduce all that, and then improving the running style again, kind of analysing how I run, how I sprint, to just reduce the amount of stress that goes through the back. So then when you actually bowl, because bowling is going to stress your back no matter what. So if you can just take away all the other things that we can control, as I said, walking, running, lifting, all that type of stuff, then the bowling itself shouldn't kind of tip you over the edge. So, I owe a lot to those guys. They put a lot of time and effort into me, and it's obviously paid off. Presumably,
I mean, it's 4 overs in a T20 game, isn't it? Maximum. It can be less. Obviously, in a first class game, it can be 35 overs in a day if it goes horribly wrong for you.
Yeah.
Presumably, your body can't cope with that, but it can cope with the 4. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. There's no fancy way I can dress it up, but yeah, since I stopped playing 4-day cricket and bowling, so basically each time I kind of had a reoccurrence of the shocks and episodes. It was kind of end of the day, kind of 15 overs plus, 15, 17, 18 overs in the day. That's when it would happen. So the basic theory was, okay, so let's try and remove that and see if it doesn't happen, and it hasn't so far. So it's literally just been a case of bowling less, irritates my spine less, and doesn't cause the symptoms and the episodes that I obviously had when I was playing 4-day cricket.
So you effectively became one of the world's first white ball cricketers, didn't you? We've seen a few others go down that path since then, but yours was forced upon you. I've often thought about you and thinking that, if this had happened in 1975, or if this had happened even sort of 10, 15 years before when T20 wasn't around, that would have been you gone out the game, wouldn't it? So you could be quite thankful, really, that format of the game came in and almost saved you.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You hit it on the head. As you say, even 10 years prior, if there were, and also at the time I found white ball cricket easier than red ball cricket. I struggled with 4-day cricket, as I said earlier, with the consistency, the pitches, especially when I was at Essex, didn't really suit my type of bowling. Whereas in 1-day cricket, I just found my natural length, which that back of the length is more effective in 2020 in 1-day cricket, and I just found it easier. If it was the other way around, if I was a genuine 4-day county bowler who was okay at T20 cricket, then again there's a decent chance I would have to retire, because Sussex might say, "Oh look, we don't want to keep you on just to play T20s." But luckily for me, I had a skill set for T20, and also there were opportunities around the world and in England to just play T20. So I definitely realised that, as you say, 10 years ago, if this would have happened, it might not have been the case.
How much fun is it bowling at 90 plus miles an hour? I've had Mark Wood on the podcast. I've had Wakar Yunis a few weeks ago, just before the Pakistan series. But in your words, when you are bowling and you're in full force and you are sending that ball down and you know it's all clicking, how much fun is that?
Yeah, it's tough because you can be bowling 90 miles an hour and getting whacked everywhere. So just because you bowl 90 miles an hour doesn't automatically mean that you're on top, especially with the nature of T20 cricket and how good batters are. But when things are going well and you are clearly on top of the batsman, you're not even having to try that hard. It is kind of like you're floating, and it is a really kind of addictive feeling, and it is one that keeps you going, especially myself throughout all the injuries. The one thing that's kept me going is that every time I've come back from an injury, I've still come back to good pace. I'm not coming back and then struggling and I'm bowling mid-80s anymore. I'm still be able to come back and bowl 90 mile an hour. So it is a good feeling, and it gives you more margin for error, especially in T20 cricket. The faster you bowl, the more margin for error you have, and you definitely need that in T20 cricket when you're playing against some of the best batsmen in the world.
You've played in the biggest T20 leagues around the globe, haven't you? The IPL, you've played in the Big Bash, you've played in Pakistan. That must be quite interesting to go into those different environments, into the different cultures. Obviously, dressing rooms from around the world. Every time you enter, there's new players that you're working with. That must be quite good fun, I would have thought.
Yeah, I love it. Look, it's a brilliant way to spend your life. It has its challenges as well. Obviously, at the start of my career, 23, 24, 25, just, kind of a single guy traveling around the world playing cricket is awesome. Now I'm married, I've just had a baby, so there's different challenges. So the next time I go away, I'm going to be leaving my daughter behind. So that's going to be a challenge. Hopefully I'll be going somewhere where they can potentially come with, but obviously with the pandemic and everything, things aren't as straightforward as normal. But yeah, there's a lot of time away from home. But you're right, when you're out there, I try and make the most of it. I try to get to know guys, eat the local foods. Obviously that's taken me down sometimes in certain parts of the world. But yeah, I think it's important to try and give back. Mickey Arthur, I was playing for the Karachi Kings in the PSL a few years ago, and Mickey Arthur kind of said something to us foreign guys, which stuck with me. He was like, "Look, I know you guys are going to do your thing cricket wise. I've got no problems with that. But if you can, just try and take one of the younger Pakistani guys who may not even play a game, so bowler, batter, whatever, and just try and help them a bit, because then they'll take that back to their domestic cricket in Pakistan, and then that will help raise the standard of Pakistani cricket." So I've kind of taken that on with me to wherever I'm playing. Again, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Australia, whatever. Just try and just help out. If there's a younger guy, I think that I can see stuff. There's always people in the squads that aren't going to play, but they're there every day training and things. So there's lots of opportunities. The nature of T20 cricket is very fickle. each tournament could be your last one. You're never guaranteed another contract anywhere else. So you've got to make the most of that when those opportunities come about.
Fed up of collecting your team's matchday subs? Worried about carrying cash post-COVID-19? Try slateapp.co.uk. Less contact than contactless. Slate, the smartest way to collect weekly match fees and more. Download the app, slateapp.co.uk. Not just for cricket, any clubs that collect subs. It just makes sense. Stick it on the slate. slateapp.co.uk.
Your Sussex teammate Phil Salt was on the podcast during lockdown, and he spent time in Pakistan in the leagues there in Lahore Qalandars, and he was telling me stories about the young Pakistan players coming up to him and saying, how can we get better? Very, very keen, want to be professional players, want to play around the world, want to do what you guys do. And he was saying that he was quite an eye-opener talking to some of those about some of the conditions they actually played in back home. Their fielding in that tournament that was out in Abu Dhabi was awful because effectively they were playing on ploughed fields. And how can you get better when you're playing in those kind of conditions? And Phil says it was quite interesting. He was sat on the plane on the way home thinking about that and realising how lucky he was to have grown up in England on some of the pitches that he's played on. You must have had similar kind of chats, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. And a lot of these guys, they just play on, they're playing tape ball cricket on concrete or just kind of abandoned fields that have been cleared out that you say are horrible. So you can't field well. You can't. It is true. A lot of these guys that kind of spring up out of nowhere. You think of guys like Harris Ralph, they're tape ball cricketers that kind of get found and brought into T20 cricket and are now flourishing. So you're right. Even though I didn't have the most kind of stereotypical route into cricket, but it was still a much easier route than a lot of guys have around the world. So you're right. When you go to these places, you go to Bangladesh, Pakistan, and the like, and you just see the pure hunger and pure love and desire to play cricket. It does put it into perspective a bit.
Let's get back to the 20 questions because I'm conscious that I've asked about 10 that weren't on the list. So we'll get back to the real questions. The next one is actually, who was your cricket hero when young? We've covered that a little bit, really, that you weren't really into cricket. There weren't any posters on the Tymal Mills wall when you were a kid of cricketers.
No.
Were there sporting heroes, though?
Yeah, so you're right. I get asked that a lot, and I honestly say I didn't have a cricket hero growing up. I didn't until the 05 Ashes. I didn't watch cricket at all. So yeah, I was a big football fan. I'm a Norwich City fan for my sins. That's where I grew up, near Norwich. So look, I don't know if I had any heroes as such. I'm not really a hero kind of guy, but I admire people from a whole range of sport. I love sport. I'm a big into my American sport, more so in the last kind of 5-6 years. But yeah, I just love sports. I don't know if I could kind of say I have a hero as such, but I just love watching sport all the time.
If you could trade lives with any current cricketer for a day, you live in their skin, you have their skills, you experience what it's like to be them for that day, who would you pick?
Ooh, good question. It's tough because you think of some of these Indian guys, Virat Kohli, etc. But I know, speaking to Ishant Sharma when he played for us, the social, obviously, side of life is tough. They can't go out. They can't do normal things that we can do. I know Ishant loved coming to play for Sussex because he was able to just walk, go out of his house and go for a walk, go to the beach and stuff. So you have to take everything into consideration, I guess. But obviously, I can't bat for toffee, so I'd love to maybe be someone like James Buttler, I guess, who can just whack it out of the park.
I'm going to put you in charge of world cricket for a day. Your name's on the door, you got the big desk. If you could change one thing about the world of cricket, what would you change? Again,
good question. I think you should be able to bowl 2 bouncers in a T20 game. I've always been a champion for that. If you can in 50 over cricket, why can't you in T20 cricket? So I'll stick with that one for my one rule I'd change.
It's very much a batsman's game, isn't it, T20? And you...
Exactly.
I mean, I've been watching the recent England-Australia series, and every single bowler that gets wided for a bouncer that's above head height chunters under their breath. But you all know the rules, don't you? So what is there to chunter about?
Oh, yeah, of course. There's nothing to chunter. It's just when it's a bit contentious, I guess. It's even worse in the blast because for some reason it's a no ball. It's not a wide, but it's not a free hit. So, I don't quite understand the rules there, but yeah, it is a batsman's game. You touched on it. I'm not going to say anything other to contradict that.
Your current Sussex coach, Dizzy Gillespie, who I know very well, who set this interview up, so thank you to Dizzy, because I'm sure he'll listen to this. He came up with one where he said that if he would rule out leg byes, because it's the bowler beats the bat, the fielding team still gets penalised, the batting side still gets a run because the batsman's missed the ball. Would you go along with him?
Yeah, I've not actually heard that before, but now I've heard it. It does make sense, I guess. And leg byes is a pretty common or very common kind of run score in cricket. So yeah, anything to keep the score down, I'm happy.
If you were starting your career again, I'm going to let you text yourself or send yourself a letter when you were, say, 13, before you'd even discovered cricket. What would you give yourself in terms of advice? What might you do differently if you had your time again?
What, saying my career would still go the same way that it did?
Well, you wouldn't know that at the time, I guess. Well, you would know that because you now, aren't you, writing to yourself? I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. You know everything that's going to happen to you.
Well, I guess I'd focus more on white ball cricket even earlier if I knew that I was going to have to retire from red ball cricket at 22. And then I'd have probably had more of a focus on fitness, running, etc. at a younger age. Yeah, so hopefully come my mid-20s, picking up less soft tissue injuries and things like that I'm having to now catch up on and make up for lost time.
It's funny with you because I assumed that you were older than you are. It's not because I've seen you on television and think, oh, flipping heck, he looks 45.
Yeah.
Because you seem to have been around for ages, and because you only crop up on my screens every now and again in T20 franchise cricket and T20 Blast, I guess sure. you go under the radar in my consciousness. You're still only 28, aren't you? So you got plenty of time ahead of you.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody, I know I don't look 28. I look a bit older than that. Obviously, the bald head and bit of a tough paper around. My missus always lets me know that I look old on the TV and stuff. But yeah, look, as you say, I've been professional since I was 18, 19 and came on the scene quite early, I guess. And then, obviously, as you say, playing T20 cricket, you're not on the screen every day. So, yeah, as I say, I've just turned 28. Was 28 in August. So, I'm hopeful if I can stay fit. I've got a good 5 years or so, hopefully playing the T20 stuff, hopefully more. But that's kind of a little kind of mini goal I've set myself for now, just being realistic with how my career's gone so far. But yeah, at the moment, I'm feeling really good. I did a lot of work during lockdown. I used lockdown to work on running and get fitter. And I definitely feel the benefits of that just in this blast so far through 5 games. I feel kind of lighter running around in the field. I'm not blowing towards the end of overs and things. So I think hopefully I've stumbled across something that will keep me going for over the next few years.
Yeah, happy birthday for 10 days ago, I think it was, wasn't it? At the time of recording, obviously. The fact that you only play T20 and some of the other bowlers in your kind of era are bowling those 30 over stints in a day and bowling in red ball cricket as well. Obviously, you've got the injury as part of the equation here, but it potentially extends your lifespan a little bit, doesn't it?
Of course, in theory, it's just on me to do what I've got to do around that to stay in the park. Even though I've only been playing T20 cricket, I've still picked up many injuries. I had a stress fracture last year. I've torn my hamstring 3 times, I think. So, look, I've not found it easy. Still, I'm probably, I'm not built like your average cricketer. So it's as I said, hopefully I've kind of come across a regime and a routine that suits me and keeps me on the park. But that's on me now to maintain that hopefully for a period of time, which is something that I've not been able to do. And that's all I'm focusing on at the moment, really.
Introducing the 2020 Penfolds Collection release with 176 years of winemaking excellence. Penfolds. Meet extraordinary. Discover the collection at penfolds.com.
We're going to get on to some questions now that aren't necessarily cricket. You can give cricket answers if you want to, but it can be anything you think.
Yep.
They say all rock stars want to be sportsmen and vice versa. Every time I watch a cricket match, the players are playing football ahead of the game and want to be footballers. If you could have been famous doing something completely different, what would you have chosen?
I think I'd still be sportsman. I think I've gotten into golf recently this last winter when I knew I had an injury and I knew I was going to be here all winter. So I thought I need to do something, and I've got a bit of a golf bug. So if you could be a top golfer around the world, that's pretty appealing, to be honest. Those guys obviously live a pretty special life. I'd have to think away from sport, but sport's been obviously my whole life. So I'd struggle to do anything other than that, I think.
If you could meet anybody, living or dead, who would you like to meet? It's that kind of dinner party question. Who would you, 3 or 4 guests that you want around the table to have a good natter with?
I'm a big fan of the Peter Crouch podcast. I think he's a laugh. I'd like to sit down with Crouch. Who else? Idris Elba. He's a pretty cool bloke.
Yeah.
Big fan of him. Stuff. I wish I would have. When you offered to send me the questions before, I wish I'd have said yes, so I could have a think about this. But I'm not sure. Sorry, I don't want to waste one.
He turned down the opportunity, listeners. He thought he could wing it.
I know. I thought incorrect.
You just mentioned Idris Elba. This could be the answer to this question. If there was going to be a movie about your life, it's Mills the movie. It's at cinemas near you next week. Who would play you in the starring role?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm as good looking as Idris, so I'd have to go down a little bit. There's actually I can't really answer the question, but recently I kept. I'm sure if you type it in on Twitter or something, I kept getting tagged. There's some big Turkish TV show. It's like a big famous Turkish TV show. And there's a guy, one of the main characters. To be fair, we look exactly like each other. Yeah. I'll dig out a link and I'll send it to you privately. But I know it's not really one I can answer because I don't know the actor's name, but we do look very similar.
What's the last time you can remember feeling really nervous? Are you in your profession? Do you get nervous before a T20, or do you take it in your stride?
Yeah, I'm not a nervous person. I love the big occasion. I'll often find myself rising to kind of the bigger occasions. I like the crowd. I'm a bit of a show pony in that regard. I was nervous. Well, as my daughter was born 9 weeks ago. That was all a bit nerve-wracking. We were in the hospital for a while, so I was a little bit nervous there. But when it comes to cricket, I don't get nervous. I might get nervous if I'm next into bat and there's a quick bowler on. But when I've got the ball in hand, I'm where I want to be.
Are you nervous before the red light goes on that TV camera, or you are okay in that environment as well?
Again, I'm actually all right. I make sure I prepare when I'm doing TV work. That's one thing that when I'm listening to radio or watching TV, if you see somebody that you know hasn't prepared, it shows up. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? If somebody doesn't know what they're talking about. So I try my best to stick to what I know, and then to make sure I've prepared well enough. So when I'm on camera and I'm talking cricket or whatever, I'm actually talking sense and I'm not just making stuff up.
What's the top item on your bucket list? Things to do before you die, number one.
I'm not really a bucket list kind of guy. I'm very content. In most situations. Lockdown was not a struggle for me. I got myself in a little routine and I was pretty content. I'd like to travel. It's not like I don't have a number one thing. I definitely, me and my wife and my daughter, when she's a bit older, to go to some more obscure places maybe and travel a bit, see some of the, there's so much in the world that, although I've travelled a lot with cricket, it's been with cricket, so you're limited to what you can see or how long you get to go and see things. So I definitely just want to travel as kind of time gets on.
You've mentioned your daughter a few times now, and on your WhatsApp picture, there's a really cute picture of you holding your daughter above your head, and she's an absolute cutie. I guess that might shape your answer to this next question. Are you a morning or a night person? I guess your days of rolling out of a nightclub at 6 a.m. are probably behind you now, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. When I was younger, I used to enjoy going out. As I said, I used to be obviously single, travelling around, doing what I want, but I've always been alright with the mornings. Before, when I was 14, 15, 16, I used to work on the fruit and veg stall before going to school a few mornings a week. So that was a 5 a.m. start in all weathers, it was alright in the summer, but in the winter it was tough. So I've always been okay with the mornings. Once I'm physically out of bed and up, I'm okay. So, and then now, I used to rarely go to sleep before midnight, but now Delphi's here, you crash out a lot earlier.
Have you been pulling your weight in this? Have you been changing the nappies, getting up for that 3 a.m. feed?
Yeah, I do it. The only rule I've had so far, which my wife's been kind enough to agree to, is the night before a match, I'm downstairs, I'm in the spare room, the door's shut, and I'm getting my sleep in. That's been the only rule. Apart from that, I'm there, I'm helping out, I'm doing it all.
That's why you want to play so much, isn't it? you get a night off.
Exactly. It's nice at the moment. Obviously, with the Blast, we're playing pretty much every other day, so it means every other night I'm getting a good night's sleep.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is the coolest man in the world, the Fonz or somebody in that era, in the current era, in that kind of guise. How cool would you say you were?
The Fonz.
You know the Fonz?
Yeah, that's way before my time.
But he was the coolest man on television. He used to kind of punch the jukebox and mend it and stuff like that. On a scale of 1 to 10, are you the Fonz at number 10, or are you the uncoolest man in the world? Where would you rate yourself?
I'd like to think I'm above average without being, really, really cool. My cool rating probably come down. I probably was maybe a bit cool. Actually, no. Now I'm a dad. My cool rating might come up a bit. I might be cool for a dad. I don't know. I'll give myself a 7.
A 7. Okay. If you had access to a time machine, you can go anywhere you want, any year you want to. You can go forwards or backwards. Where would you drive that machine to?
I don't think I'll go forwards because obviously you don't know what you're going forward to, do you? So if I was to go back in time, at my current age, obviously.
Yeah. It's the time machine's in your garage now, and you can drive it anywhere you want.
Good question. I think I'd maybe just go back to when I was born, so the early 90s, and just see what life was like back then for a 20-something-year-old. I'm sure it was extremely different to what it was now. So, yeah, I'll say that.
If you could live anywhere in the world, if you're happy where you are now, it's a second home that I'm offering you. I'm actually not really offering you this, by the way. I'm not going to send you the money to buy this. But if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Ooh, again, great question. I think New Zealand would be up there. I think I did 6 weeks playing for the Auckland Aces a few years ago, and thoroughly enjoyed New Zealand. Beautiful country, so much to see, so much to do, great people. I'd be hard pressed to find anywhere else other than New Zealand. I think, apart from it being so far away from everything. But maybe I'll go with New Zealand.
Introducing touch-free payments from PayPal, a safe way for your customers to pay. Whether you're a market seller,
I'll take 2 tomatoes and a cucumber,
poodle pamperer, piano tuner, or plumber. Signing up to accept touch-free payments for your business is easy. Simply download the PayPal app and display your own unique QR code for your customers to scan. Touch-free QR code payments. No seller fees until 2021. Not applicable to PayPal here transactions. Other fees may apply. Shop safe with PayPal.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would you change?
I've got some of the worst feet in world sport. They're I won't send you a picture, but yeah, I've got toes that haven't grown since I was about 11. So I've got kind of 2 really long toes and 3 really short ones. And obviously I've got fast bowler's feet. They're all beat up, nails off everywhere. So I'm sure my wife would definitely say my feet.
That sounds lovely. That's put a lovely picture.
Yeah,
a sort of gnarled hobbit's feet
really
just come into my head there.
Yeah, they're not the best looking feet in the world.
What will you be doing in 10 years' time? 38.
10 years. So, 38. I can't imagine I'll still be playing cricket. I definitely won't be playing club cricket. I'd like to think I'll have some sort of career in the media. I'll have, obviously spoke about my daughter a lot. She'll be obviously 10, might have another kid or 2 in between now and then. So I'd like to think I'll just be splitting my time between working and doing a few different bits around the media, and then just spending time with the family. Really, that's the plan.
Tymal Mills, we've got to question number 20, and this is one that some people struggle with, and some people don't actually completely understand it. So I'm going to try and read it out as I've written it here. If you've been picking these questions, if you've been me interviewing you today, is there a question you would ask yourself to get a great and exclusive answer? A secret, basically, that you've never told anybody else before?
Oh, that is a very good question. I think with myself, the standard questions that you ask and kind of you have asked give quite unique answers, if that makes sense. Obviously I've not had a normal path into cricket or a normal journey. So I think I give quite a good answer anyway, or I hope so at least. If you wanted to ask something that you wouldn't know about me, I just mentioned about my horrible feet, which is a little nugget that, again, I'm sure some people probably didn't want to know. Honestly, I might have to just be another one of those people that can't really answer that. I think it's a very good question.
I'll tell you what, I'll substitute it with a different one then as question number 20. Obviously, as somebody that's played in the IPL before, and experience what it's like to play in India. How do you think it's going to be in Abu Dhabi, Sharjah and Dubai? It's going to be a completely different natured tournament. Do you think it'll still be exciting? On the Cricket Badger podcast, we're going to go bonkers about the IPL over the next 2 months. I'm really looking forward to it. But it's going to be a different kind of competition, isn't it?
It will, yeah. Look, I've played a lot of cricket in the UAE. Obviously, the PSL was held out there for the first couple of years, and I've been a part of that. It won't be the same. The IPL is unrivaled in terms of fanfare, stadium size, attendance. It's brilliant. I remember obviously playing out there and just being stood. I think I was down at Fine Leg or somewhere when I was playing at Eden Gardens in front of 65, 70,000, whatever it was, and it is a type of occasion where you look around and you just realise how special it is and you soak it in. It won't be the same in that regard, but the cricket will still be of an extremely high level. You've still got the best players in the world all playing T20 cricket there. So it'll be really intense cricket, especially those games in Sharjah and Abu Dhabi where it's a little bit easier to bat. There'll still be some good scores. But yeah, it's just a need must and you crack on really. And it won't quite be the same, but it's better than nothing, isn't it?
RCB, your previous team, they've never won it. Can this be their year? Have you still got an affection for them? Are they your IPL side?
Yeah, look, obviously things didn't go exactly how I wanted when I went out there. I got injured after 4 games or whatever it was, and I still feel like I've got unfinished business in the IPL. So hopefully I'll get the opportunity to go back and play at some point, whether this year as a replacement player or in the future. But yeah, look, I always keep an eye out on the team. Obviously, that's the only team I've been affiliated to. And look, when you've got Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers, Yuzvendra Chahal, etc. in your team, you've got as good a chance as anybody as winning it. So I'm looking forward to watching it. I'm doing some commentary for the BBC, I think, for the games, and I'll be keeping a keen eye on it.
They've always had some big stars, haven't they? What was it like walking into that dressing room for the Royal Challengers? Yeah,
it was cool, as you said. We had Kohli, Gale, de Villiers, Shane Watson. Yeah, we had a pretty good team. I think we finished bottom that year, but they're all good guys. They are just guys at the end of the day. They're just cricketers. In the dressing room, there's all the banter around the hotel. You're just playing table tennis, all those bits and bobs. And obviously, when you're on the field, you're switching on the best that you can. So yeah, you just go in there and you just get to know each other and just be yourself. Just be confident, be laid back. All the best. One thing with all the best cricketers, all these biggest names, is cricket doesn't define them. They're very good at being able to switch between on the field and off the field. So yeah, it was a really good experience to get to meet and hang around with those guys.
Everybody that comes on the Cricket Badger podcast takes on the 20 questions, ultimately realises there's probably about 50 questions that I ask you. You've been fantastic on this podcast, Tymal. I'm just going to ask you one more, if I may. Sussex Sharks,
yeah, sure.
well placed in the T20 Blast at the moment. You're playing well, your team's playing well, you've got some very good players on that side as well. Chance to go all the way, I guess.
Yeah, look, that's always our objective. We know we've got a strong T20 side on paper. We've got plenty of guys that have played international cricket, guys that have played all around the world. This year is obviously, as most teams are, a bit weaker. Obviously, no overseas players. We were due to have Rashid Khan and Travis Head. We've obviously lost Laurie Evans as well since then. So we aren't as strong as what we might have. Chris Jordan's only got one more game for us, and he goes off to the IPL. So yeah, we're not as strong on paper. Phil Salt's with England now, which is great as well. So, but yeah, we want to win it. We feel we've got a good chance to win it, and obviously we lost in the final a couple of years ago, lost in the quarterfinal last year. So all of us are desperate to kind of put that right and to go all the way, even though it's not quite the same this year with no crowd and things like that. But we're still in it to win it, that's for sure. We started well.
I wish you all the best with that. I wish you all the best for the rest of the season and for the rest of your career. And I hope to see you on a TV screen near me again soon, because you do very well on that as well. I've seen some quite good social media comments in response to your appearances on the TV. So hopefully that continues long into the future as well. And thank you very much, Tymal Mills, for being a guest on the Cricket Badger podcast today.
No worries. Thanks for having me, mate. Take care.
Now is the chance to use reliable energy to grow your money with the Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. Our new investment product offers competitive returns, no maintenance fees, and flexible online access to your money. Make the reliable investment in reliable energy. The Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. To find out more, go online to to reliabilityinvestment.com. That's reliabilityinvestment.com.